James Tybury's Wild Tales and Misadventures.
This is Reactor Radio, all radioactive, all stories, all the time. Today's story is about a young man confronted with the dark night of the soul. Julie Ramos is dead. Murderous thoughts crossed my mind often. They surfaced when confronted by the rude driver, delivery person, police officer, and when my wife pushes me way past the edge of reason. I'm sure everybody has these desires. I know I've been the subject of another's evil eye on more than one occasion. Yet most people never act out these fleeting images. In our mind's eye, we see our fingers wrapped around our persecutor's throat, face blue and eyes bulging. In reality, we rock back on our heels, smile sickly, and say, "I'm going to murder you." Of course, there is no murderous intent in our words, at least on the conscious level. We use death words so carelessly, they've become automatic expressions of our conquering spirit. You've heard of the fellow who made a killing on the stock market and the baseball team that eliminated the opposition. The axe falls in corporate headquarters all over America every day. The Plexosoft Corporation office building rose 10 stories above downtown Newport, Texas, like a giant gold ingot dropped from on high. At midday, I watched the summer heat shimmer outside the golden windows. At night, I watched ambulances rush up and down Constitution Avenue, the company logo and lobby glass between me and the street like a shield. My job was serving as a custodian and gatekeeper for the office complex. I like to think of myself as a security professional. Executive types absently called me security, while the secretarial types jokingly called me Cerberus. The janitors didn't call me anything at all. The pay was not great, but it helped fund my college tuition, 2 more years left on my BS in computer science. My job also allowed me to make contacts in the largest computer software company in the Midwest. Everyone saw me behind the desk at the front entrance every day, from the president and board of directors down to the lowly file clerk. I managed a wealth of information about Plexosoft and the industry just by listening to conversations. Sometimes I got more than I bargained for. July 29th was hot, and I was thankful that I spent the greater part of the day inside at home with a cool drink and the air-conditioned breeze. Unfortunately, I had to be at work at 6 o'clock, which meant I had to get up and enter that oven. I was not looking forward to this. On the way out the front door, my wife kissed my cheek and told me, "Be cool," a mischievous grin curling her lips. The doorknob was hot to the touch, and I only hesitated a moment before swinging the door open and plunging out. A wall of hot, moist air engulfed me. By the time I closed the door, my uniform was sticking to me like a wet towel. My hair was dripping and my eyes were burning. The car was much worse. The plastic seemed to be partially liquid, and the steering wheel felt like a branding iron. I drove to work, juggling the wheel between my hands, watching Newport sizzle in the radiation. Every passerby on the sidewalk looked wilted, their heads bowed under the weight of the sun. People that happened to look up had sullen faces. A glowing resentment seemed to permeate the town. I saw it in the way people argued under the awning of a fruit stand, loud and angry, and in the impatience of the drivers around me. I ensconced myself behind the tall desk in the lobby of the Plexosoft building. A bank of video monitors stared out at me below the high countertop. From here, I could view the parking garage and the walkways leading to the front of the building and the shipping entrance. Security papers and manuals arrayed to my left, the bane of my existence. Every action and observation had to be documented in tedious detail. A red button mounted on the desk to my right allowed me to open the front doors without leaving the booth after normal business hours. I was also responsible for patrolling around the perimeter of the building once an hour after closing time. Most people cleared out by 5:30, but some diehards like to stay late or come in during the night when some idea caught them or their boss paged them. One diehard in particular was Adam Julian, Vice President for Management Information Systems. He was in charge of all the computers, software, and training for the whole operation. I was particularly interested in Adam because he epitomized my own career aspirations. I listened to his conversations with special attention, and I came to see that he had aspirations of his own. Adam wanted to be the next vice president or next president of Plexosoft, and he was doing his homework. His first major success came with the takeover of a small software company in San Antonio. He had knowledge of their operations, the contacts, and the clout. Adam's negotiations clinched the deal in the River City and sealed the coffin of his closest competitor, Martin Baker, vice president of accounting and finance. Martin scrambled to put together a good plan, but Adam just outgunned him. In this game, you had to be a political animal to succeed. Adam's prestige soared. Adam's best friend within the company was Jocelyn Harvey, Plexosoft's resident headhunter. Her official title was Vice President for Personnel. Adam's success in San Antonio was to a great extent the result of Jocelyn's work behind the scenes. They both seemed to be chiseled from the same block of granite. She had the same white teeth and black wavy hair. Their most striking similarity was their eyes. Tight, worldly eyes, full of steel, stared through anything that passed before them. To me, they were a cross between a shark and a power station, a nexus of power that devoured everything in its path. Deep inside, I wanted to be like them. On this day, Adam and Jocelyn were working late on a project for the personnel department. They were developing a program that would determine labor requirements on a weekly basis, saving money for the corporation as its primary goal. And in an economic slowdown, labor was the first to suffer the result of downsizing. To Adam and Jocelyn, labor was merely another commodity like electricity or paper, to be used effectively, then discarded when it lost its usefulness. I knew the board of directors liked their bottom line attitude, and the software would be another vindication of their approach. There was resentment for their successes, and gossip linked the two in amorous liaisons, but they were too married to their work to waste time on such dalliances. They stepped off the elevator in animated discussion. I could kill Marcel. She's been a pain in my ass since day one. Marcel Post, Vice President of Operations? The one and the same. She had a little chit-chat with Martin and got my funding for the expansion project pulled. Jocelyn looked pained by the memory. I'm going to make her pay. Adam's lips curved into a bloodless grin. Marcel and that old goat have been running this company into the ground. It's time for some new blood in the saddle, as long as it's our blood. They approached the desk, a supreme look of confidence in their faces. They did not appear to notice me. Good night, Ms. Harvey, Mr. Julian, I said. Adam looked down at me for the first time. Good night, Tom Warden, I said for the 100th time, trying to keep exasperation out of my voice. Every night was the same. Oh yes, Tom. He seemed a bit impatient with our discourse. Have a pleasant evening. My evening would be pleasant as long as I avoided running into a car thief in the parking garage or having to roust a wino from the dumpster. You know, Tom, Jocelyn interjected, you really should pay attention to your monitors there. I had to admire her, always in control of the situation. With my attention diverted, they made their way through the double doors into the night. I prepared for my patrol, as usual, flashlight in hand, keys on my belt, when Adam Julian came back. I buzzed him in, and he came up to my desk in a hurry, looking at his beeper, worrying showing in his face. Can I borrow your phone? He asked. My son has paged me with an emergency. Certainly, I said, placing the phone on the countertop for him. When I returned from my patrol, Adam was sitting in my chair, holding the phone to his ear. His tie was loosened, and he looked like someone threw water on his face. He played with a pencil with his free hand, tapping it on the tabletop. I could see that his hand was shaking. He looked up as I approached. My son thinks my oldest daughter, Julie's been shot, he said, unburdening himself to me. I looked at the picture drawn on the notepad by the previous security officer, a yellow happy face with blood dripping from a bullet hole between the eyes. Yes, this is Adam Julian. I've been waiting for an answer. No, I was not involved in the case. Anger flashed across his face. You can't give me any information about my daughter? No, I'm not with the press, please. He pulled the phone away from his ear. That son of a bitch hung up on me, damn police. All they know how to do is make life miserable. He began dialing again, his finger playing a shaky rhythm over the telephone keys. The bags under his eyes were more pronounced. The small wrinkles seemed deeper. Doris, yes, it's me. Put Todd on the line. He hunched over deeper in his chair while he waited. Anything new, son? Okay, how is your mom doing? All right, I'll call the hospitals and see what I can find out. Try to keep her from going hysterical. I'll call you back when I can. I don't know. The police wouldn't tell me anything. I don't. Maybe, yeah. It could have been a drug deal gone bad. I'll call you when I know more. He hung up the phone and looked at me as if imploring me to answer his question. I didn't know what to say. He called every hospital in Newport to no avail. By the time he finished, the phone was slick with his sweat, and his jacket was lying in a crumpled pile beside the desk. Scribbled telephone numbers covered the happy face on the notepad. In between calls, he asked me about him myself, more to hear me talk than out of any genuine interest in my life. I told him my dreams and goals about my career, my education, and my life. I told him about my hobbies and showed him a picture of my daughter. I told him everything about me except what I thought of him. Finally, he had no choice. He had to make a choice. I'll call the morgue, he said matter-of-factly. It's the only thing left to do. His eyes stared out into infinity. I just nodded my head, trying to maintain a composure appropriate for the situation. I ended up smiling instead, a sick feeling churning in my guts. He dialed the number slowly this time. His hands seemed to be very heavy, or all of his energy was gone. He did not move at all as he listened to the phone ringing on the other end of the line. Hello, is this the county morgue? My name is Adam Julian, and I'm calling about my daughter. She's about 5'8", 110 pounds, and... Oh, yes? Well, can you give me the number to the medical examiner's office? He scribbled a number on the notepad. Yes, I've got it, thank you. He dialed again. I had to go on patrol, but waited. Wanting to find out what happened for disaster-curious reasons, I prayed silently for a miracle. My name is Adam Julian, and I think my daughter has been in a shooting. Yes, she's a white female, age 21, about 5 feet 8 inches tall, brown hair, green eyes. Her address? She lives at 1712 East Fillmore Lane, apartment 103. Her husband's name is George Ramos? Stan. No, I don't know. He does go by several aliases. Greg, Alan, Felipe. He has a police record. You see, yes, I can wait. He rolled his eyes heavenward and sighed. I could hear Highway to Hell issue from the earpiece. Adam saw me listening. Can you believe the crap they put on here? Rock music on a damn line where people... His voice trailed off, and I could see he was on the ragged edge of a nervous breakdown. A desultory rain dotted the lobby windows for a moment and then was gone. Yes, I'm here. Uh-huh. He nodded his head. Yes, uh-huh. He sat up straighter in the chair. A lack of meaningful information was maddening. Then I saw him smile. All the lines on his face disappeared. So you're telling me there was another Julie Ramos involved in that shooting? The answer to his question must have been good, because he jumped up from the chair, gave out a joyful yell a Turkish jail prisoner would have envied. He threw down the phone and did a little dance behind my desk, grabbing me in a bear hug. All I could do was smile at this good fortune. But then I thought about the photo in my wallet. Your daughter's all right then, I asked. She certainly is, he answered, picking up his jacket. What about the other woman? What other woman, he asked, the steel returning to his face. The one who was shot. Is she in the hospital? Is she okay? I, he said sharply, could care less. My Julie's not dead, and that's all that matters. With that, he turned and left the building, whistling Highway to Hell all the way out the door. I stood there in a daze, thinking about Julie Ramos, the other Julie Ramos. The woman who operated the mainframe computer came out of the dinosaur pen to talk to me, as she would do occasionally between batch jobs. She could see I was prepared to make my rounds. If you find any dead bodies out there, let me know, she said with a grin. I attended the funeral of Julie Ramos at the Guadalupe Cemetery, dark cumulus threatening from the horizon. She'd been at home in her living room when bullets pierced the wall and took her life. Local gang members had done a drive-by shooting at the wrong address. I talked to her parents and friends and found out she was a student at the local university, my university, and a classmate. I found out later that she was on the dean's honors list both semesters she attended. She was in the choir and had a beautiful voice, according to the music director and her boyfriend. She was, in all respects, everything that Adam Julian's daughter was not. I wondered if I prayed for the right woman on the night of the shooting. At the end of the burial service, it began to rain. Most of the people ran to their cars, dodging the big drops that fell in lazy arcs from the clouds. Only close family members and friends stayed behind, and I stood among them as they lowered her into the ground. One of her uncles tapped me on the shoulder as we walked away. I looked into his sad eyes, rivulets running down his cheeks like the tears of all sadness on earth released through one man. "You know," he began, "there's an old proverb that says if it rains at a funeral, it means that heaven is opened up for the soul of the dead. This rain is a good sign." "Maybe there's hope for the rest of us," I said, thinking about my own life. I sat in the lobby of Plexosoft Corporation watching the raiders, headhunters, and sharks go by. I made peace with my own desires, locked up in the dark recesses of the soul. I became a school teacher instead of making a career climbing that corporate ladder. Fame and fortune would probably never be mine, but that's all right. I value something deeper. The picture of the little 7-year-old with a crooked smile peeking out of my wallet is all the wealth I need. And so ends today's story. Be sure to like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell.